The story begins with our main protagonist, called Shiki, who observes a shooting star streak across the sky. A robot who goes by the Demon King tells Shiki the importance of friends as those you should be able to rely on, and tells her of a godlike entity called Mother, who is said to grant wishes to those who find her. One day, Shiki hopes to make lots of friends. Years later, a girl named Rebecca and her cat, called Happy, visit the Granbell Kingdom in the hopes of racking up views for her Aniko channel. The robots welcome them as the first guests in over 100 years. She meets Shiki, who is surprised to see she is a human. He asks to be friends, however his strange and awkward demeanor drives her away. Shiki persists and brings them to a nearby inn where he introduces the robots and Granbell as his friends. Shiki explains that the robots have been acting strangely as of late, and he has been working hard to fix them as he always has. A hunter robot reports to Lord Castellan about Rebecca's arrival. Meanwhile, Shiki falls asleep, so Rebecca asks if she can cut his hair, to which they allow her to do so. That night, Lord Castellan sets his plan into motion. When Shiki wakes up, he finds that his hair has been cut short. He runs out to find Rebecca bound to a stake. He tries to untie them, but Lord Castellan stops him. He plans to use Rebecca's ship to fly them out of Granbell after years of neglect due to humans abandoning them. Shiki says he'll fix them, but Castellan reveals he has never fixed a robot before. It was simply Granbell's auto repair service. The robots declare humans as the enemy and begin attacking Shiki, who grows scared and confused. Suddenly, Shiki unleashes the power he inherited from the Demon King. Happy awakens and frees Rebecca, explaining that Shiki is using Ether Gear, an ancient ability that allows the user to harness their ether flow as power. In Shiki's case, it is the manipulation of gravity. They flee to Rebecca's ship, the Aqua Wing. Shiki is reluctant to leave his home, but Rebecca drags him along. They blast off into the sky, revealing that Granbell was just one planet out of countless in the Secura cosmos. Back on Granbell, the Castellan and the other robots reveal that their actions were all a ruse. They knew that they would eventually die, so Demon King begged them to find a way to send Shiki out, as he would be all alone otherwise. As they drop one by one, Shiki says goodbye and thanks them for never making him feel alone. He prepares to go on a new adventure to make as many friends as he can. Shiki learns that Rebecca and Happy are B-Cubers, online stars that post videos for views and money. Rebecca asks him to act as her bodyguard for the meantime. They soon land on Blue Garden, where Shiki can register as an adventurer. Shiki is culture shocked by the tall skyscrapers and populated streets. They enter the Adventurers Guild, the Shooting Starlight. He sees a projection of a massive goddess called Mother, worshipped across the cosmos. When he mentions he has seen her before, he is ridiculed as nobody has ever seen nor met Mother in person. He strangely asks them to be his friends, and Rebecca has to drag him out. Suddenly, Rebecca is horrified as Happy is kidnapped, and Shiki activates his ether gear to give chase. He causes the thief to crash down onto the ground. He emerges from the rubble, shooting a gun and forcing the crowd to disperse. He shows his gang leader Happy, calling him a cat from the planet Exceed. The gang leader remarks that Happy will fetch a hefty price. Rebecca appears and demands Happy be returned to her. The gang leader starts firing a chain gun, and in the chaos, Happy escapes. Rebecca has him transform into a pair of pistols that fire ether energy, powerful enough to knock someone out. She and Shiki work together to take out the entire gang. In a flashback, Rebecca stumbles upon Happy when he was a kitten. Because they were both lonely, they decided to stick together, but a tragic car accident almost kills Happy. He was forced to undergo strenuous surgery and was reborn as a robot. In deep space, a space pirate known as Elsie catches wind of Shiki's escape from Granbell. They return to the Shooting Starlight to get Shiki registered as an adventurer, but he is heckled by the other members as he arrives. They meet Claris, the guild's receptionist, and Rebecca asks her to pull some strings to register Shiki. Labilia, an extremely popular B-Cuber, arrives and calls Rebecca's videos boring. The insults make her cry, and an angry Shiki reverses gravity for her. Rebecca drags him out before he can cause more trouble. At a restaurant, Rebecca gives Shiki his adventurer's card, listing his name as Shiki Granbell after his home planet. They overhear two patrons talking about Labilia's latest video, and although Rebecca hates to admit it, her rival's content is truly interesting. Shiki proposes that the two find Mother, which will surely create a stir if she makes a video out of it. She agrees, and they set out to meet the doctor who fixed Happy, who can provide them with the ship and comrades they need for the journey beyond the Secura cosmos. Meanwhile, Elsie arrives at the Shooting Starlight, searching for Shiki. One of the adventurers informs her that they are headed to Norma. She remarks that the planet is long dead. Rebecca allows the inexperienced Shiki to pilot her ship so she can make a video out of it, but he ends up crashing their ship into Norma. Rebecca explains that Norma is a planet rich in earth ether, which creates giant crystallized pillars to rain from the sky. They travel underneath the surface where the Normans have built their civilization. They then enter the doctor's workshop where Shiki finds goggles that allow you to see through objects. When suddenly a man claiming to be the doctor, Weiss Steiner, points a gun at them and he does not seem to recognize Rebecca or Happy. 20,000 years later, two astronauts inspect the planet of Norma where they find a B-cube with the words Eden's Zero carved into it. The omniscient narrator says that time holds little meaning in the story of Eden's Zero. Back on Norma, Weiss accuses the two of being spies for a crime leader named Sibir, but they do not know what he is talking about. Shiki uses the goggles and spots an assassin on the second floor. After taking him down, Weiss takes advantage of the distraction and escapes. While eating at a restaurant, Rebecca and Happy notice that the internet is not working. They see a news broadcast about the launch of the new guild, Shooting Starlight. A confused Rebecca runs out and realizes that they are 50 years in the past. They encounter a giant robot piloted by Sibir and forcing them to escape, as they should avoid causing any paradoxes in the past. Using his ether gear, Shiki helps them run away from Sibir, and he manages to damage his robot in the process. They then regroup at a bar, which Rebecca says Weiss once used as a hideout. They coincidentally run into him there and both parties are surprised to see each other. Rebecca explains that they are from the future, and although he is skeptical, he is alarmed to learn that he ends up with a receding hairline. Shiki snatches away the case Weiss has with him, and inside is a small anti-machine robot called Pino, who possesses EMP properties. The lights and machines in the bar are knocked out, but Pino reassures them that the effect is temporary. Shiki asks to be friends, and to his delight Pino agrees. They ask Pino who her master is, but a coding malfunction causes her to suddenly leave. Wondering if Sibir plans to use Pino to steal money in bank accounts, Weiss excitedly plots another scheme. They leave the bar with Shiki bringing the briefcase from earlier. He opens a B-cube he found inside it, showing a video of Sibir and his gang interrogating and abusing Pino. Shiki and Rebecca discover that Pino is likely from the future as well, judging from the records shown in the briefcase. Unable to ignore Pino's situation, they decide to rescue her. Pino returns to Sibir's hideout, returns to Pino's own free will. Sibir plans to have her begin work immediately, but decides to crush her other leg as punishment for escaping. Unable to watch from the sidelines, Weiss interrupts him and reclaims Pino. Shiki and Rebecca burst in, using the former's gravity-based powers to punch a hole through their hideout. Shiki pulls in several henchmen at once, knocking them out. In the chaos, Weiss escapes with Pino and unintentionally with Happy too. Sibir crushes Shiki with a compactor and instructs his right-hand men, the Foot Brothers, to take care of Rebecca while he chases Weiss. Shiki wakes up in a trash heap where he finds a robot with a striking resemblance to Michael. The robot activates and clarifies that his code name is Jonathan, and he is just one of many mass-produced robots. Shiki tries to repair him, but remembers Castellan's words that he is not a real mechanic. Jonathan explains that they were used as toys by Sibir, and when they had exhausted their usefulness, they were dumped. As his battery dries up, he thanks Shiki for being kind. Rebecca barely manages to dodge the Foot Brothers' attacks, but they end up admiring her beautiful legs, and they ask her to show it to them. Shiki bursts through the floor, taking out the Foot Brothers in one blow. Meanwhile, Sibir has cornered Pino and Happy. Pino refuses to use her EMP powers as she feels it would be unfair to her android companions in the trash heap to ignore orders. Sibir prepares to blast them to Kingdom Come, but Shiki appears just in time, punching a hole through his robot and severely damaging Sibir. Shiki declares that robots also have hearts and should be treated with respect. Sibir's bird companion reactivates the robot, but Pino works up the courage to activate her EMP. Sibir's arm is destroyed by Weiss, while Happy and Rebecca reunite. Pino is touched by Shiki's kindness and that he considers her not just a robot, but a friend. After learning that Sibir and his gang were rounded up by the police, Rebecca reveals that Pino was likely the creation of Weiss in the future. They have no time to rest, as they are soon chased by the police. They race back to the Aqua Wing and blast off towards space, but a strange barrier blocks their escape. Weiss, who stowed away, offers to get them through in exchange for handing over the ship to him. Rebecca is hesitant to surrender her ship, but Shiki agrees on her behalf. Weiss begins modifying the entire ship with his own ether gear, Creation. The new and improved ship blasts through into space, avoiding the police. Rebecca then receives a transmission from Professor Weiss, who explains that Norma was consumed by a time-eating monster called a chronophage. Thus, Norma has had 50 years of its time robbed from it. He then clarifies that he and the younger Weiss can coexist as a result of the chaos caused by the space monster. Furthermore, he simply repaired Pino. His true creator is the Demon King, Shiki's grandfather. Suddenly, the Aqua Wing is captured by Elsie's ship, the Skull Fairy. Rebecca is terrified, as Elsie is famed as the conqueror of the 7 cosmic seas and is an infamous pirate. She declares that they will plunder their ship and sell them off into slavery. Weiss tries to bargain for his life, but Shiki instead says he plans to plunder Elsie's ship instead and take it for himself. Impressed by his bravado, she invites him to fight on the bridge. The group breaks out, fighting octopus-human hybrids along the way. Rebecca is captured in a lewd position by the tentacles, but she manages to break out with Happy's gun form. When Shiki reaches the bridge, he is unnerved by Elsie's appearance, who now dons a skeleton mask. Shiki faces off against Elsie but is surprised by her toughness. He is repeatedly slammed away, but he manages to return fire with gravity-powered punches. Elsie introduces herself as the one who surpassed the Demon King, which surprises Shiki. She calls his dream of reaching Mother impossible, but he insists on trying. It was the Demon King who taught Shiki everything he knows about the use of his ether gear, but he passes away before he could finish Shiki's training. Meanwhile, the Interstellar Union Army's fleet is tracking Elsie and her crew. 3 crew members, Justice, Victory, and Creed, notice an unusual ether reading on one of the ships, which is revealed to be Shiki. Shiki is adamant about going to see Mother and performs the final technique in his grandfather's arsenal, Gravity Comet. With it, he smashes Elsie through several floors. He ends up blasting a hole in the ship's hull in the process, but it manages to repair itself. The rest of his group gather around him, and they receive an intermission from the real Elsie, who reveals that the one he fought was simply a mimic parasite. As promised, Elsie gives Shiki the ship, and she reveals that it was once used by his grandfather, the Demon King Ziggy, when he set out to search for Mother. She explains that when his time neared its end, he brought Shiki, whom he found as a boy, to Granbell. By giving him the ship, she has fulfilled his promise to Ziggy. The camera then shows the massive fleet commanded by Elsie, stunning Shiki and his crew. Elsie then notices the Interstellar Union Army's fleet and buys time for Shiki to warp drive out of danger, which Creed notices on his radar. After getting out of harm's way, Rebecca notes that they are near Blue Garden. The crew set out to clean the ship to repurpose for their needs. While in the bath, Rebecca suddenly experiences a burst of ether gear, firing a beam into the ceiling. The crew regroups inside Ziggy's throne room, wearing new, sleek outfits. When Shiki sits on the throne, a command activates that releases Witch, a caretaker robot whom Ziggy had designed. She introduces herself as one of the ship's 4 shining stars, and welcomes Shiki as the new Demon King. Witch begins the complete overhaul of the ship, restoring it to its original form. She tells the crew its true name, the Eden Zero. Witch, who mentions the order and integrity of the ship, informs them that although she has restored the Eden Zero, it is far from its full power. To unlock it, they must gather the remaining 3 shining stars, who went their separate ways after Ziggy ended his voyage. While receiving a massage, Rebecca asks Witch if she could use ether gear, and she remarks that if she bathed in the ship's bath regularly, it might stimulate an awakening. Meanwhile, Shiki and Weiss stand in front of a massive vault, labeled 3173, which, using her ship-wide eavesdropping, warns them that it will only open once the other shining stars have been retrieved. When Weiss complains about her eavesdropping, she replies that she is no different from a chair or piece of furniture, she is just a thing. Shiki disagrees and says that she has a heart. This catches her off guard, but she appreciates his sentiment. The ship lands on Blue Garden, and Weiss says his farewell, having his own plans for adventure. Shiki and Rebecca return to Shooting Starlight, and Clarice is glad to see them unharmed. Labilia appears and, as usual, taunts Rebecca for her unpopular videos. She asks Shiki to appear in one of her videos, but she is rebuffed. Rebecca is then asked to report to the Guildmaster, who has an important matter to discuss with her. Meanwhile, Labilia and her bodyguards are attacked by a strange man. He means to kidnap Labilia, but Shiki arrives just in time to grab his arm. Suddenly, the arm detaches and returns to the man, whom Pino identifies as a cyborg, Jin. The two fight with their respective ether gears, filmed by an overeager Labilia. Their battle spills out into the streets and throughout the city. Jin's ether gear, harnessing the power of wind, blasts the road they are fighting on, causing a great amount of collateral damage. Shiki is forced to rescue the civilians caught in the crossfire. Soon, Jin receives an order to withdraw. He tells Shiki to go to Gilst if he ever wants a rematch. Shiki returns to the Shooting Starlight, where he is horrified to see an injured Happy, who informs him that they were attacked while meeting with the Guildmaster and Rebecca has been captured. A news broadcast informs them that there is a kidnapping spree targeting B-Cubers. Realizing she was almost kidnapped herself, Labilia is terrified. Shiki orders a return to the Eden Zero to rescue Rebecca from Gilst, a planet known as the Lawless Land. And this brings the anime to an end. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on another video. Until next time, take care.